The sky over Vealora was red with heat, and the jungle breathed like a living thing. Princess Kaelra crouched behind a thick glowing root, her fingers gripping her bow, but she didn't aim. She didn't breathe. There, in the middle of the Blackwood Hollow, stood something not seen on her planet in 100 years. A human. He was tall, dirty, and strange. His skin was pale. His eyes were empty like still water. He wore no armor, no markings of any tribe. He stood barefoot in a place where nothing walked alone. Kaelra whispered to herself, "Is he mad? This is where the Death Fong sleeps." She had come to scout after hearing the jungle scream last night. The birds had vanished. The rivers had stopped flowing. Even the wind was afraid. But this human, he stood still in the clearing like he owned it. Kaelra looked around. The beast was near. The trees had gone quiet. And then, from the thick mist behind the vines, it came. The Death Fong, a giant creature older than her kingdom. Its black scales shimmered with poison. Its claws could rip metal. Its mouth had eaten kings. Its roar could melt bone. Kaelra had seen many warriors try to kill it. All had died screaming. The human didn't run. The beast saw him and let out a scream so loud that the ground cracked. Still, the human didn't move. Kaelra's breath caught. He was waiting. The Death Fong pounced, jaws open wide, but the human dropped low faster than lightning. He grabbed the beast's jaw, twisted, and slammed it to the ground with a crash that shook the sky. The Death Fong roared in pain, but the human was already on its back, punching again and again. Tried to throw him off. Failed. With one sudden twist, the human snapped its neck. Crack. Silence. The jungle froze. Kaelra's heart stopped. The human stood. The Death Fong dead. Kaelra didn't believe her eyes. It wasn't possible. This wasn't a normal human. This was something else. Something her people feared in old songs. But what he did next was worse. He walked to the beast's chest and tore it open with a sharp piece of metal. Red, glowing blood poured out. He reached inside and pulled out the Death Fong's still beating heart. Kaelra's eyes widened. "No," she whispered. He raised it to his mouth and bit. He ate it. Slow, calm, like he'd done it before. Kaelra almost screamed. The blood was poison. The heart carried curses. But he chewed it like soft fruit, swallowed it, and licked the blood from his fingers. Then he looked up, right at her. Kaelra ducked behind the root, but it was too late. He had seen her. Footsteps. She turned, ready to run, but he was already behind her. "How long have you been watching?" he asked. His voice was low, soft, dangerous. Kaelra spun around, arrow ready, hand shaking. He didn't flinch. He looked at the arrow like it was a joke. "Don't be afraid," he said. "I'm not," she lied. "You should be." Kaelra swallowed hard. "Who are you?" The man tilted his head. "A visitor. Maybe a problem. Depends on you. You speak our tongue. I speak many. Yours is easy." She studied him. His skin had strange scars, long lines burned into shapes. She had seen marks like that before. In old war records. "You're one of them. The forgotten soldiers." He smiled. "That's what your kind calls us. You're supposed to be extinct. I'm not very good at dying." Kaelra stepped back. "You just killed the Death Fong. I was hungry. You ate it." He shrugged. "You'd be surprised what hunger teaches you." She stared at him, horrified and fascinated. "No one has done that in 1,000 years. He leaned in closer. "No one tried hard enough." Kaelra's hand trembled around her bow. "What are you doing here?" "I woke up, somewhere cold. Then I followed the heat. It brought me here. This land is sacred. Not to me." Kaelra hesitated. "You're dangerous." "Yes," he said, "but not to you. Not yet." She lowered her bow just a little. "What's your name?" The man looked at the blood on his hands. "Doesn't matter. I've had many." "Then what should I call you?" He paused. "Call me human." He turned and walked into the trees, disappearing into the mist. Kaelra stood alone, heart racing, staring at the beast's broken body. She knew two things now. One, he was not lying. Two, this was only the beginning. The jungle was dark again. Kael'ra followed the human through the thick vines and twisted trees. He didn't talk. He didn't look back. But somehow he knew she was there. His footsteps were soft, but his presence felt heavy, like walking behind a storm that hadn't ended yet. Kael'ra was afraid, not just because he killed the death fong, not just because he ate it. She was afraid because part of her wanted to know more. The human finally stopped at a quiet stream. Red moons reflected in the water. He crouched, washed the beast's blood from his hands, and looked at her through the water. "You're still following," he said, voice calm. Kael'ra stepped into the open. "I want answers." He didn't answer. "You said you've had many names," she said. "I've had many hunters too," he replied. She blinked. "Hunters?" He nodded slowly. "Your world once hunted humans like animals. You called us cursed, called us monsters. Then you tried to erase us." "That was before I was born," Kael'ra said. "Those were war times. Time doesn't change the truth." Kael'ra sat on a large root. "So you are a soldier?" "I was built for it," he said. "Built?" He turned to face her now. His shirt was torn at the chest, and Kael'ra saw it again. Strange markings burned into his skin. She leaned closer. "What are those?" "Memories," he said. "But not mine." She didn't understand. "What do you mean?" He sighed. "A long time ago, your people took something from Earth. DNA, bones, lost soldiers. They made copies, new humans. Stronger, faster, colder. I was one of those copies. An experiment." Kael'ra's mouth went dry. "You're not even fully human?" "I am human enough to survive. Human enough to remember." She looked down. "But why are you here now?" He looked up at the moons. "Maybe I was never meant to leave. Maybe this world called me back." Kael'ra shook her head. "You killed the death fong. My people will never accept you." "I don't need them to," he said. "I'm not here to make friends." "Then why are you talking to me?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because you didn't scream when you saw me eat that beast. You stayed. You wanted to understand." Kael'ra looked into his cold eyes. "What's your real name?" He stood, walked over, sat across from her. "My name was Seven," he said. "Subject 7. She frowned. "Like a test subject?" "Yes." Kael'ra felt a cold chill run through her. "How did you survive?" "The others didn't. I was the only one who ate everything." "What do you mean?" "When the war ended, your leaders threw my kind into the wild. Called us too dangerous. Most of us died. Some tried to live like normal people. Learned to live like the monsters." Kael'ra leaned closer. "You eat monsters to stay alive?" He nodded. "To stay strong. The poison makes others weak. It makes me better." "That's not human," she whispered. "I was never meant to be," he said. "That's the point." Suddenly, a sound echoed through the jungle drums. Kael'ra stood up. "My people, they're coming." The human Subject 7 stood as well. "How many?" She listened. 2 search groups. At least 10 warriors. "They're coming for me?" She didn't speak. "They want to kill me for killing their pet?" "Not a pet," she said. "A protector. A legend." He scoffed. "Then they'll die for chasing shadows." "No." Kael'ra stepped in front of him. "They don't understand. They think you're dangerous." "I am. But not evil." He paused. "You saw something in me," she said. "So let me talk to them first." He crossed his arms. "If they shoot first." "They won't," she promised. He didn't look convinced. Kael'ra ran into the trees, toward the torches. The human waited. 5 minutes later, she returned. 3 warriors followed her, weapons raised. "Put them down," she ordered. One warrior shouted, "You stand with the flesh-eater? He saved my life." She lied. "He could have killed me." He didn't. The warriors looked unsure. Subject 7 stepped forward. "I won't run," he said. "But you should know something." They aimed at him. He didn't flinch. "You're not the first to hunt me." His voice was cold like steel. I've been hunted by your gods, your ghosts, and worse things in the dark. If you fire, you better kill me with the first shot. Because I don't run. I don't beg. I eat what chases me. The jungle went silent. One warrior lowered his spear. Kael'ra, what have you brought us? She answered softly, a chance to understand the past before it eats our future. The fire in the village center burned high. Its blue flames danced around the metal pit where many had died before. Criminals, enemies, traitors. Tonight, the villagers gathered again, eyes wide with fear and curiosity. But this time, inside the pit stood no ordinary creature. He stood calm, tall, and still. Subject 7. Chains were tied around his wrists, glowing with stun energy. But he didn't try to break them. He just waited. Princess Kael'ra stood beside the Elder Council. Her voice had been loud, her defense firm. But the people were louder. He's cursed, one shouted. He ate the death fong, another screamed. Elder Muro raised his staff. Silence. The crowd went quiet. Muro stepped forward. You say you are not a monster, he called down to the pit. But you eat beasts with poison in their blood. You fight like no living man. You have no tribe, no god, no fear. How do we know you are not death in human skin? Subject 7 looked up. I never said I wasn't. Gasps spread like wind. But, he continued, I also never attacked your people. I could have. I didn't. Muro nodded. Words mean little. This is a place of proof. He pointed to the shadows. 3 cages rolled forward. Inside each was a deadly creature. The crowd stepped back in fear. Kael'ra recognized them instantly. The first was a spike lizard, fast and toxic. His tail could pierce armor. The second was a ghost wolf, silent and bloodthirsty. Could kill 5 men before being seen. The third was a sky crawler, rare and dangerous. It had wings like blades and eyes that glowed in the dark. You will face them, Muro said, without weapons. If you survive, we decide your fate again. Kael'ra stepped forward. This is a test for animals, not men. Muro looked at her. Then let us see what he really is. The crowd waited, silent. The cages opened. The spike lizard leapt first, hissing, fast as lightning. But Subject 7 turned and caught it midair with one hand. He squeezed. Bones cracked. Fell limp. The ghost wolf came next, claws sharp, teeth flashing. It circled fast, too fast. But the human closed his eyes and listened. When the wolf jumped, he rolled under it and slammed his elbow into its jaw. The beast crashed against the wall and didn't move again. Gasps again. Kael'ra's heart beat fast. The villagers were no longer shouting. They were staring. But the third was not like the others. The sky crawler shrieked and took to the air. Subject 7 watched it circle above. Then, quick as a blink, he grabbed the spike lizard's tail, threw it like a spear, straight through the crawler's wing. It fell. Before it could rise again, the human was on it, hands tight around its neck. Snap. All 3 monsters were dead. The chains on his arms still glowed. The pit fell silent. But Subject 7 wasn't done. He walked to the crawler's body and began to cut meat from its chest. Kael'ra stepped forward. What are you doing? I'm hungry. No, Elder Muro said. You can't. That meat is cursed. Cursed for you, he replied. Not for me. And then he cooked it. He reached into his torn belt and pulled out a tiny metal stick. He pressed a button. A small flame came out. Slowly, he roasted the meat over the fire. The smell was strange. Spicy. Sweet. Wrong. He tore off a piece, chewed, and looked at the watching crowd. You fear me because I eat what kills you, he said. But on my world, that's how we survived. Kael'ra watched the people's faces change. They were no longer angry. They were afraid and curious. Elder Muro stepped back. This is madness. No, Kael'ra whispered. This is something older than madness. This is survival. The human looked at her. Your people think strength comes from power, he said. But mine know it comes from pain, from hunger, From what you can take inside and still stand. Kaelra asked softly, "Why do you eat these things?" "Because each one makes me stronger," he said. "Their poison becomes my blood. Their rage becomes my fire. Their weakness becomes my fuel." He tossed another piece of meat into his mouth and chewed slowly. The crowd didn't speak. Some stepped back. Others leaned forward. Kaelra felt it in her bones. He was not just dangerous. His stomach was a weapon. The jungle burned in silence. Smoke rose behind the trees. A body fell into the river with a splash. Blood followed. Subject 7 wiped his hands on his torn shirt. His eyes scanned the shadows. Nothing moved, but he knew they were still watching. 3 warriors were already dead. More would come. He crouched low, picking up a small round rock. He rubbed it with something from a metal pouch, placed it under a leaf, and walked away. Kaelra watched him from behind a thick trunk. She was breathing hard. She had followed him again, even though she had been warned not to. Not because she didn't trust him, but because others were coming to kill him. General Vroth, commander of the Sky Fortress, had sent a kill team. They wore black armor, spoke no words, and used weapons forbidden by ancient law. "They will erase him," the elders had said. "He's not part of this world," Kaelra had shouted back. "Then why does this world keep sending monsters after him?" Now she watched him set traps, bend branches, sharpen sticks. But these were not normal traps. He was making something different. He tied vines between trees, laid sharp bones under soft moss, hung animal blood in a bag over a silent tripwire. Kaelra stepped forward. "They have fire blades and pulse arrows. You think sticks will stop them?" Subject 7 didn't look at her. "They fight for honor. I fight to win." "You can't win against 10 trained killers," she said. "I've killed 20 before breakfast." She blinked. "You're serious?" He nodded. "Fair fights are for fools. I fight like the things your people fear." Suddenly, a snap. A twig broke. His eyes narrowed. He grabbed Kaelra's arm and pulled her behind a fallen log. "Don't move," he whispered. Footsteps. 3 of Vrotha's black-armored killers stepped into the clearing. Their eyes glowed red. Their blades hummed in the quiet air. They moved slowly, scanning. One stepped on the fake leaf. Click. The rock exploded. Not a loud boom, but a flash of blinding white light. The warrior screamed, dropping his weapon. The other 2 raised their arms. But vines whipped forward and slammed them into the trees. The human jumped from his hiding spot. He moved like lightning. He didn't fight like the warriors did. No clean moves, no form, no rules. He rolled under a blade, jammed a broken bone into the attacker's throat, and kicked another into the spiked pit. Kaelra could only watch, frozen. He didn't just kill. He hunted. He struck from the side, from behind, from above. He bit. He clawed. He didn't stop until all 3 were dead. And then, silence again. Subject 7 stood, breathing slow. A gash ran down his arm. He didn't care. He turned to Kaelra. "They sent children." Kaelra stepped out. "That was fast." He nodded. "That was the warning." She looked at the bodies. "Vroth will send more." "I hope he does." She shook her head. "You can't kill them all." He looked her dead in the eye. "I don't need to kill them all. Just enough to make the rest afraid." Kaelra whispered, "You don't fight fair." "No," he said, "because the universe doesn't fight fair either." He bent down, picked up a fire blade from one of the fallen enemies, and handed it to her. "You'll need this soon." "Why?" He pointed to the sky. Far above, a red light blinked through the clouds. A war beacon. "Vrotha's fortress has seen everything," he said. "They know I'm still alive. They'll come. All of them." Kaelra held the blade tightly. "You could run." "I don't run. I prepare." She looked at him. His calm eyes, his quiet strength, his bloody hands. He wasn't just a man. He was something else. Something built in pain. Something born in fire. "Why do you never panic?" she asked. He looked at her, serious. "Because panic is what the weak do before they die." He started walking again, deeper into the jungle. Kaelra followed. Behind them, the bodies burned. And far above, General Vroth smiled from his flying ship. "Let the beast dig his little traps," he said. "I want his head delivered to my table." The air was thick with heat and silence. Subject 7 stood on top of an old stone cliff that overlooked the dead forest below. Trees were burned black. No wind passed. The ground was dry as bone. Kaelra climbed up behind him, her breath shaky. "Why are we here?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. He stared at the center of the clearing below, a circle of dark metal, buried in dirt and ash. Kaelra stepped closer and saw strange marks on the metal. Circles. Lines. Tiny words in a language she didn't know. "What is that?" she asked. He finally spoke. "An old door." Kaelra frowned. "Door to where?" He knelt beside the metal plate and pulled a long, flat tool from his boot. With quick movements, he wiped off dust and soil, revealing a glowing symbol. It looked like a human eye with fire inside it. Then he pressed his hand against it. Nothing happened. He took out a sharp piece of glass and cut his palm. Blood ran down his fingers and touched the eye. The ground shook. With a hiss and a loud click, the metal disc split open. Dust flew into the air. A hidden staircase appeared, leading deep into the ground. Kaelra stared. "What is this place?" He looked at her with cold eyes. "Home. Kind of." They descended into the dark. The stairs went down for a long time. Torches flickered to life as they walked. The walls were made of strange black stone, covered in glowing wires. At the bottom, they entered a huge round room. Kaelra gasped. In the middle of the room stood a tall machine, like a tower but made of broken satellite parts, cables, glass, and steel. Around it were shelves filled with old helmets, weapons, books, and even photos. Photos of Earth, blue oceans, giant cities, flying cars, people smiling. Kaelra whispered, "Is this your world?" He nodded. "Pieces of it." He walked to a control panel made of smooth black metal. He placed his bleeding hand over a red scanner. The machine came alive. A low hum filled the air. The tower glowed blue. Lights moved like stars. A soft female voice spoke from nowhere. Subject 7. Biosign confirmed. Mission status. Restarted. Kaelra's eyes went wide. "What mission?" He didn't answer. The ceiling above began to open. A section of the cliff above moved aside, revealing the night sky. Then something strange happened. The stars above disappeared. In their place, a giant screen filled the sky. Moving images appeared. Earth, but not peaceful. War. Machines fighting monsters. Humans in metal suits. Entire cities burning. Kaelra's knees weakened. She stared in shock. "Your world. It's dying." Subject 7 looked up, calm. "It already died." The voice from the machine continued. "Command. Seek Apex DNA. Consume. Stabilize. Report." Kaelra looked at him. "What does that mean?" He turned to her slowly. "I was made for this. I wasn't just built to fight. I was built to adapt. To take in the strongest life forms and turn them into power." She stepped back. You're a weapon." "No," he said. "I'm what comes after weapons fail." Kaelra shook her head. "Is that why you ate the Death Fong? The ghost wolf? All those monsters?" "Yes." "What happens when you eat the strongest thing on this planet?" He looked at her. "Then I leave." She didn't know if she felt relief or fear. "You don't belong here," she whispered. "Maybe," he said. "But neither did your ancestors when they built labs on Earth and made copies of us." Kaelra's eyes widened. "We did that." He pointed to the photos. "Not you, but your kind. Long ago, they made soldiers, sent them back, erased them when they became too dangerous. But some of us survived. I survived." The machine voice spoke again. "Signal sent. Awaiting contact from remaining units." Kaelra whispered, "There are more of you?" He nodded. "They'll come now. They'll see the signal. And they'll come here." Kaelra looked up at the sky screen, still showing war. "What if they're worse than you?" "They are." Kaelra's heart pounded. Then why send the signal? He stared at the stars. Because I'm not running anymore. If they come, I'll be ready. She stepped beside him. And if they attack my people? Then I'll protect your people, he said. But only once. Why once? He looked her in the eyes. Because I don't save the same world twice. The jungle was no longer quiet. Animals ran from trees. The sky turned gray. The wind brought the smell of ash. Kaelra stood beside Subject 7 on the cliff edge. Behind them, the old tower still hummed, its signal pulsing like a heartbeat. She stared up. Something's coming. 7 didn't blink. They heard the call. You're kind. He nodded. But not like me. Above them, the sky tore open. A black dot appeared in the clouds. It grew larger and larger until it took shape. A ship, not like the ones Kaelra had seen in her world. This one looked like a broken knife, sharp, dark, and ugly. Fire spilled from its engines. Lights scanned the land below. Then another ship came. And another. 3 ships landed on the far side of the valley. Kaelra whispered, "How many are on those?" "Enough to end your kingdom," 7 replied. She stepped back. "You called them." "I called something. I didn't know who would answer." A loud boom echoed. The ships opened. Metal ramps dropped. Heavy boots hit the ground. Humans walked out. But they were not like 7. They were bigger, stronger, covered in thick armor. Their faces were hidden behind helmets shaped like skulls. Strange weapons were attached to their arms. Kaelra felt her body shake. "What are they?" 7's voice was low. "Failures. Survivors. Monsters." One of the new humans walked forward and removed his helmet. His face was pale like 7's, but colder. He had red eyes and metal lines under his skin. "I knew you were still alive," he said. 7 stared back. "I hoped you weren't." The pale man smiled. "We saw your signal. We came to finish what we started." 7 crossed his arms. "This world is under my protection now." The pale man laughed. "Still playing hero? We were made to consume, not protect. You know that." Kaelra stepped between them. "Leave this place." The pale human looked at her, surprised. "A native? You let them speak now, 7? "She's not your enemy," 7 said. "She's not food yet," the other replied. Kaelra raised her weapon. The pale human didn't flinch. He pointed at her. "You care for these things now?" 7's voice turned cold. "I care enough to kill you if you touch her." The pale man nodded slowly. "So it's war then?" 7 turned and started walking away. "It's always been war." Later that night, Kaelra walked with 7 through the jungle. The trees shook as the enemy humans spread across the land. "They're faster," she said. "They don't care about the forest. They'll burn it all." Kaelra looked at him. "How do we fight them?" "We don't," he said. "You train." "I fight." "No," she said. "You promised to help us. Then teach us." 7 stopped. He turned to her. "Your people are not ready for this war. Then make us ready." He stared at her a long time, then nodded. The next day, the jungle became a battlefield. 7 stood before a group of Kaelra's warriors. He spoke in short, simple words. "Stop waiting for orders. Think fast. Move faster. Kill quiet." He taught them traps using bones and vines. He showed them how to see with their ears, how to fight without looking. "How do you know all this?" one warrior asked. "I learned it in fire," he said. Kaelra trained too. She followed every step, every move, every word. 7 watched her. "You learn fast." "I have to," she replied. "You're the reason they're here." He smiled a little. "Fair." That night, the sky turned red again. Fire rained from the ships. Villages burned. Kaelra screamed orders. Her warriors fought in shadows. They struck fast and vanished. They used 7's traps. They slowed the enemy, but they still died. The pale human walked through flames, laughing. "Is this the best you've got, 7? 7 jumped from the trees, landing hard. "You forgot how I fight." He pressed a button on his arm. Boom! The ground under the pale human exploded. But he stood back up, laughing. Nice try. Kaelra pulled out her fire blade. She stood beside Seven. He looked at her. This is your world. Don't let them take it. She nodded. Then fight beside me. They charged together. Man and alien. Monster and princess. Far away, inside the old tower, the machine spoke again. New signal detected. More incoming. The battlefield burned. Trees were ash. Rivers ran black. Smoke covered the red moons. Princess Kaelra limped across broken ground, fireblade in hand. Her arm was bleeding. Her people were scattered. Many were dead. Beside her, Subject 7 stood tall, but his body was damaged. Cuts across his chest, burns on his back, one eye nearly shut. Still, he walked forward, because the real monster was waiting ahead. On the Hill of Skulls, the king, not a ruler of a tribe, not a human, not a god, but something far worse. The one who led the fallen soldiers who came from the sky. The apex, the final clone, the one who never failed. He wore no armor. He didn't need it. His skin was metal and muscle. His eyes glowed like suns. He had eaten beasts, machines, and entire cities. He sat on a throne of broken bones. You look small now, Seven, the apex said, voice deep like thunder. Tired, weak, finished. Seven didn't answer. You were the first of us, Apex continued. But I became the last. Because I was better. Seven's voice was cold. You were more hungry. Not better. The apex stood. His height made Kaelra feel like a child again. He held a jagged blade made from the bones of ancient gods. Kaelra whispered, We can't win. Seven whispered back, We're not here to win. We're here to end it. He walked up the hill alone. Kaelra stayed below, shaking. The apex stepped down slowly, like a beast ready to enjoy the kill. You should have stayed buried, he growled. I did, said Seven. Now I rise. They clashed. The sound shook the mountains. The apex moved fast, too fast for something so big. He slammed Seven into stone, breaking it. Seven rolled, grabbed dirt, and threw it into the apex's eyes. It didn't help. The apex grabbed him and lifted him high. Still fighting dirty, I see, he hissed. Seven smiled with blood on his teeth. The dirt always wins. He stabbed a hidden shard of death fang bone into the apex's side. The giant roared. Kaelra climbed the hill. She had to help. She jumped, slashing with her fire blade, but the apex swatted her away like a fly. She crashed to the ground, coughing blood. No! Seven shouted. The apex laughed. She's just like the rest. Weak, breakable. Seven's eyes turned dark. You shouldn't have touched her. With a final push of pain and rage, he slammed into the apex. They rolled, fists flying, teeth breaking. Seven bit into the apex's throat. The monster screamed. Kaelra saw it. He was doing it again. Eating the beast. Not just to kill, but to become. The apex stabbed Seven in the side. Seven drove his fingers into the apex's chest. Both were bleeding. Both were dying. Then silence. Dust settled. Kaelra crawled forward. She found the apex first, dead, heart ripped out. Then she found him. Subject 7, lying still, his chest rising slowly. You did it, she whispered. He opened one eye. Did I eat enough? She smiled through tears. Too much, he coughed. Tell your people. Tell them what? That the monster kept his promise. She held his hand as his eyes closed. The sky opened above. The last of the enemy ships turned and flew away. They had lost their king, and feared the one who ate him. Weeks later, a great stone was raised in the village center. It had no name carved on it, just a mark, a handprint, burned into the stone, with 3 words below. He stayed hungry. Children gathered at night, listening to Kaelra's stories, of the man who ate poison, who broke monsters, who fought without honor, who died so others could live. Some said he was human, others said he was something older, but Kaelra knew the truth. He was both. The last weapon. The final protector. Subject 7.